Well, thank you, Sanders. Sandman. We call him Sandman? We call him Sandman.
It's Sanders or Sandman or Rory.
Sanders, Sandman,
Or
Rory. He doesn't look like a lion, that's how he gets Rory, right? I know that. Well, he took my thunder a little bit. I was going to give a confession. I know we're a good group, so I was going to confess, for sinning against you Polars by being a Tartan Titan. I'm sorry. It's not good. I'll make this as bearable as the Viking season, okay? Sound good? Oh, that's actually probably not good. That won't be too bearable. Well, where should I start? Let me take myself back to how I was about 10 years ago when I was probably in the same seat you guys are sitting in. Well, not the same seat, because I went to Tartan, remember, not North, so we didn't have this nice of a media center. But I was in an FCA group. My parents never encouraged me to go to church or anything like that. They told us, we were kind of priesters. Has anybody heard the word priesters before?
Never heard of it.
Priesters. That means we went on Christmas and Easter. That was it. That was pretty much it. And then I think it was maybe my sophomore year, my friend wanted to go on a church retreat, and he had nobody to go with. So he asked me, and I was like, oh, all right, cool, I guess. I don't know anything about it, but we'll go. Plus, there was a girl I had a crush on, so that kind of helped. It kind of helped. So I remember thinking, okay, I'll talk to that girl, and I'll see what happens in this retreat. We'll see what happens. So I went on the retreat, and, it was great. It was actually a really cool experience, a lot of cool large group things, and flirting with a girl, getting her little gifts here and there, trying to win her over. And I actually, one of the craziest things that happened was, I did the whole, okay, if you want to accept Jesus into your life, stand up now and say this prayer with us. So I stood up and I, did one of those little things, and I officially accepted Christ into my life. Done, right? And that's exactly how it works. You just accept it. That's it, right? Not so much. I accepted him like you accept a friend request on Facebook. It's just like, oh, I know that person. We have mutual friends. Cool. Confirmed. I could have denied him like Candy Crush requests, because I don't like those at all, so don't send me any if you friend me on Facebook later tonight. But seriously, I accepted it, but I did completely what I wanted to do. I lived exactly how I felt. Oh, whatever seems fit, whatever I wanted to do, I did. And like I said, going back to when I was introduced to FCA, which Rory Sandman Sanders was doing it at Tartan at the time, and it was like underneath the radar. You couldn't talk about it. It was like, oh, go to FCA. It's like, what is this? Oh, you're an athlete. Oh, I did say I was a Christian. Okay, I'll go. And all my other friends were in it, so I thought, why not? But I didn't know what I was going for. I just kind of felt, what else am I going to do tonight? Because all my friends are going to be at this thing. So I just went, I kind of listened, kind of played some basketball, and that was it. I mean, I really didn't actively do anything besides just be a present there, because I still had my own dreams and aspirations of what I wanted to do. And it just was tough, because I don't know anything about this. I was nervous to ask any questions about it. So I just continued to live my life the way I wanted to do. I wanted to be a professional football player. I wanted to be an actor. I had so many different dreams and aspirations to do, but I just said, I have this Christian thing, I don't know what it is. So I still didn't continue to go to church after that. Again, we were Creasers. We had Christmas and Easter, and that was it. And we prayed before games, and I wrote Nothing Without God on my tape. And I mean, it was like, I was actively, like, my words were doing things, but I was acting a completely different way. I was so tempted by peer pressure. My friends would go one way. So like I said, after I accepted Christ, I never told anybody. I mean, that's great news, but I didn't tell anybody. I just was like, okay, I did that. I wrote it in a notebook. It's like April 23rd. Got denied by the girl at the retreat, but I did accept Christ. Or something like that. I don't remember exactly the word. But, so it was tough. I just kind of did my own thing, and like, I remember being so, just like I said, pressured by everything that I did. Like, so I remember even music genres. My friends liked a certain music genre, and I was like, oh, that music sounded cool. And there's a genre they hated. Punk rock, if you guys listen to that at all. They hated it, but for some reason, I was like, okay, I'm going to hate it too. So I hated it, and I didn't listen to it. But there was one time I rode with a friend that listened to it, and I was like, oh, that's good. I kind of like it. I kind of like it. So I remember thinking, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to tell anybody. I can't. So I kind of slipped it in one time when I was at Best Buy, and I was like, hey, I kind of listened to this song the other day. It was awesome. I know it's punk rock, but I liked it. I won't listen to it again. And it was stupid for me to think that just because of what they thought, if I told them, hey, I'm listening to punk rock, don't hate me. I was so convinced that anything that I did differently than them, I would lose that friend. And so I kind of just was like, well, they were okay with it, so I'm just going to tiptoe around it. But I still, like I said, I was living the way I wanted to live, and my friends influenced me so much. I'd stay out late. I was influenced by all the blood and gore of violent movies and language and all the just wrong things that are in this world, but I was just consumed by that. That was my entertainment. That's what I liked watching movies. I liked TV over anything else. And like I said, I still had that checkbox check that I was a Christian, so, I thought I was pretty good. I thought, whatever happens, happens. And, after high school, it still was a challenge. Still was like, I don't know, I'm still living the way I want to live. My friends were peer pressuring me into, girls are such a big deal to us guys, just whatever they want, or whatever you want to do it, and they're encouraging it, the movies encourage it. Everywhere was encouraging me to do things that were just like, okay, my rest of my friends are, if they're doing it, I'm going to do it. And I just wanted to fit in. I don't know why, but that's the way I think we're structured. We want to fit in somehow. And I remember, I just remember just trying to fit in so much and do as much as they could. And I got named everybody's best friend my senior year, which was cool. It's like, that means I got along with the hockey people, the football people, the goth people, the skater people. You name it, I got along with everybody. I wouldn't have read Twilight, but that's a different story. So I fit in with everybody. But then, but I still didn't have my own identity. Like I said, I just kind of followed. So when I was going through high school, and I kind of just was like, you know what? I didn't even want to go to college after high school. I just was like, I'm done. I don't even know what I want to do. I hated school. Well, I didn't hate school, but I mean, if I could have majored in socializing, like talking to people, I would have got straight A's. I mean, I talked during break time, during any classroom. Didn't talk really in the library because you can't. You can whisper, I guess. Maybe nowadays you can text because you can have your phones, right? But it was just, that's all I did. I mean, I talked. A lot of times, teachers got along with me, but they always said, he talks a little bit too much in class. Yeah, I know. I'm a talkative person. But so I still was trying to find that identity. I still didn't know. But so then finally, my parents were like, well, you got to go to school. You got to do something. So I was like, well, let's go to college sound school. I'll do digital video production. How cool does that sound? Well, to some of you, it might not sound too exciting at all, but to me, it was like I get to play with a video camera and a computer. Who doesn't want to play with a computer? And a video camera, I guess. But so I went there, and it was kind of like I just felt like I was just going there because my parents wanted me to go there. That was the only reason. And then I came back after a vacation, and I failed a class. And it was a class I went to all the time, and I failed. And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. Perfect attendance, and you fail a class? And then, so I started reconsidering things. I really started thinking about, okay, now what am I supposed to do? Because that didn't work out. What do my parents want me to do now? I'm going to drop out of school. And my parents were like, well, do you like to do this? And then we went through stuff I like to do, and then they asked me about theater, which I did in high school. And I said, well, I love theater. They're like, well, why don't you go to school for that? So I was going to Century, doing my generals, and doing some theater there, and it was like, this is it. Yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to stand on a stage and be like, act like a fool. I can't sing, so I didn't do Broadway. But I was just like, this is what I want to do. This is my dream. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be an actor. This is what I want to do. So when I did that, and I said, I'm going to get my 2-year degree, and then I'm either going to New York or LA. So it was kind of decide how it's going to be. And then I thought about New York. The weather's still the same as it is here. We know we're all cold now. It'd be cold in New York. And I think of LA with palm trees, beaches. Yes, and film. And like I said, I can't do Broadway either, so that wouldn't have done me any good. So I moved out to LA, not knowing anybody. Again, I kind of had faith grow a little bit more as I got older, but it still was like, I don't know, still wasn't as strong as it should be. And I went out there trying to make it, trying to do my thing. Didn't get, audition after audition. Nope, we got somebody else. 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 So it was like, what is going on? I mean, I thought this is what God wants me to be, right? I thought. And then, I started hearing news of like my brother got engaged, and one of my cousins was having a kid, and all these things were happening back here that I was missing out on. And I love my family, I love my friends, and I was like, I don't want to get second wind of this news. So I just didn't know, and I started trying, and I knew one thing I had to do. I said, I need to get back into a church. I felt that some reason I just felt I need to go back to church because I needed that part of my core. So I, started going back to church, and I was like, okay, this is, cool. I mean, whatever, and started going back. I enjoyed it, and then, but no, I wasn't with anybody, so it was kind of like, I don't know. I just don't know if this is my home church or not. So then a friend of mine that I met through the acting school I was at was also going to a church, and he said, well, come check this one out. I said, all right. So I went with him, and I was hooked. I said, this is great. However, he was trying to invite me to a small group thing, and that's where I was like, I don't know, man. I have a pretty, and I'm thinking in my head this, I didn't say it to him, but I'm like, I have a pretty dark past that I don't really, I'm not proud of. I've done a lot of things that, they're going to wait till I need to be right with everything. I need to clear this out, and then they'll probably accept me in it. And I just thought that was the way they'd look at it. I thought they were all perfect, whatever, and I was like, I don't know, my work schedule won't allow it. But then my work schedule allowed it, so I was like, okay, I'll check this out. So I went to it, and they welcomed me with open arms. They were very, very supportive of everything, and not that I had to confess everything to them by any means, but it was like, okay, maybe this is something, this is growing something in me, but I don't know what it is yet. And then I started, then I just started thinking. I started kind of being more in the Word a little bit, but I still lived the way how I want to live. I still thought acting was the one thing. I was still trying to chase the, talk to my friends back here and say, oh yeah, there's this girl that's into me. She's like 40. It's a cougar, right? It was a cool thing to celebrate. But then I was thinking on the other side of it, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm going to this group on Wednesday nights, yet I'm talking about, like, I'm happy because this 40-year-old woman is attracted to me. That's kind of the opposite of what happens. So then finally, after losing my job, and staying with this study and realizing all this stuff going back at home, I just said, I don't know, maybe this is God calling me back home. And again, it was like, I had belief in there, so I just said, yeah, God's calling me back home. But I had no idea what I meant by saying it. And at the time, I was doing videos on my Facebook, just keeping people up to date with, hey, this is what I have an audition for now, or this is what I have an audition for today. And keeping them in light so I didn't have to talk to them every 2 days and like, okay, yeah, I sat on the beach today. Yep, had a Corona. Yep, cool. All that stuff. And so I made my last video in California. I channeled my inner LeBron James, and I said, I've made a decision. I'm taking my talents back to the Twin Cities. That got over really well. And so I came back to the Twin Cities, but sure not, still. I may have said I had confidence and faith in what God had in store. In my head, I had no idea. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to, I don't know what I'm going to do. My friends are going to look at me as a quitter. They're going to think, oh, you gave up on your dream, you did this, and I just had all these negative thoughts running through my head when I moved back. And when I came back, I started, things started picking up. Things were good. Like, I got a job and all this other stuff, but I still wanted acting so bad. For something about just still being on TV, and it wasn't about the fame and fortune and being 30 in rehab and Miley Cyrus. It wasn't anything like that, because we all know that's just a scary, scary place to be. But so then I, just was trying to figure it out. I just didn't know. And I started going back to church with my parents a little bit because I wanted to keep that going. And then my friend, who actually is Rory's stepson, introduced me to a church, and I started going, and I was like, well, this is actually pretty cool. The worship sucked me in like it did in California. And I'll go here on Sundays, and I'll go with my parents on Saturdays. We'll see what happens. And I kept going and kept going and kept going, and then I saw him get baptized. And after the fact, he came up to me, and we've been brothers since I was like 6. So I came up and I hugged him, and my eyes filled. I'm a man and I don't cry, so I pushed him away and said, "Dude, sit down, good job." But I felt so much emotion that I've never ever felt before. Except for maybe when I got my heart broken for the first time. But I said, sit down. I was so happy for him. And so I said, okay, what does this mean? Why am I feeling so much emotion on this? Why am I like, it feels great to be here, but I still just couldn't put my finger on it. And so I continued to go. And then in June, they announced their outdoor baptism, this one that my best friend, brother, whatever way you want to call him, was indoors. So I went up, and so the outdoor one was July 15, 2012. And I said, okay, why does that date sound so familiar to me? Why does it sound so familiar? So then I so then I looked back in my like blog entries or whatever I did in California and all my notes, and I was like looking through it. And the year to the day that I moved back from California was the day of my baptism. It was the day of that outdoor baptism. So that's when I was like, okay, message, blinking, 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 blinking. And I said, I think this is something that I'm getting called to do. So I signed up, did the outdoor baptism, and just like that, when you get dunked in and you get pulled back up, it completely washed away any negative thought I had and back up. And my eyes were reopened, my ears were reopened. Everything was completely different. I started seeing things different, hearing things different. And there was something inside me that just, you talk about the Grinch when his heart gets smaller and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as he finally realizing Christmas means more. My heart grew huge. It was the toughest choice I've ever made. I mean, like I said, you could go back to when I said I accepted things, but I just accepted it. I didn't say, oh yeah, this is my faith. It was like God got second fiddle. It was like if I was pursuing acting and I were to finally get an award, that's when he would be like, oh, I want to thank God for this, like so many actors do, right? So many celebrities do. I don't know if they're really serious. I don't know how many are genuine about that. I'd really be curious to know. But everything was washed away. And I'd look back at, like I said, 10 years ago, I was so convinced that if I would have seen all the indications of like switching places with things then, maybe I would have been different now. But I'm glad where I'm at now, because think about this. I look back at my career expert relations class in junior year. Not to go too many different years, get you confused, but junior year, we had a careers class, we had 100 things, like we wanted to write down 100 things, like it was like a bucket list, 100 things before you die. And like I said, I was in the FCA group, or whatever, so, I'm looking through it, just a year ago I looked through it. And keep in mind, I was girl crazy again then still. So then, of course, 10 of the first 10 things have to do with the girl I have a crush on in class. Which is pathetic in itself, right? That'll win them over. Hey, you're on my bucket list 10 times. And then get this. Number 100. 100. Die happy and be one with Christ. Nice! He finally made the list. 100! It's like, really? Like, when I look at that now, I wish I could go back in a time machine, see myself, and be like, dude, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? Because... now, of course, if I were to do it, I'd be one, and then everything else would hopefully fall into place. But I think now, just how much I've changed and how much I've grown, that things didn't go exactly the way I had planned, but it's going exactly the way God had planned. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I have the greatest girlfriend in the world who is filming me right now. She puts Christ first. It's our center of our foundation, of our relationship. I'm Sunday school teaching. I can't tell you how much blessings He's poured down since I finally just said, you know what, I'm done. I surrender all to Him. And that's the toughest choice you can ever make. You might think, oh, well, where am I going to go to college? Or should I ask this guy out? Or no. The toughest choice you can ever make is to follow God, without question. Because you know what? It's not normal to do it. It's not the norm. Sin is the norm. You know how often we turn on the TV, what do you think? Oh, if you want to get in shape, do this exercise. You want to look good, eat this. Or you want to get all the people listening to these earbuds, or whatever. It's sickening how much advertisements want people to just, oh yeah, go have sex before you're married. It's all right. Go ahead. Everybody else is doing it. The rappers are doing it. They're talking about it in the song. It's stupid. It is stupid, and we live in this society that it's YOLO and swag and all this other crap. Swag. What is this? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, swag stands for Saved with Amazing Grace, but that's just my swag. I don't know if everybody else's. But it's the toughest choice you'll have to make, because it's not just once you do it. It's not one time you make that choice. It's again and again and again and again. You have to make that choice every single day. The Bible says you must take up your cross daily, die to yourself, and follow Him. It's, like I said, it's the toughest choice I've ever made, but it's the best choice I've ever made. But it's so hard when society wants you to do things otherwise. They want you to You know, they want you to sin. They want you to do this. We're all sinners. We can admit that. We're in a broken world, and that's why all this tragedy, like in the Philippines and stuff like that, happens. But it's what we do with what happens that what counts, and how we need to put God in the center and know that it's all going to work out according to His plan. He has a unique plan for each and every one of you. It's obviously not going to be the same for each of you. It's all different. But the fact of the matter is, God doesn't just want weekend visits. God wants full custody of your heart, night in, night out. It's not what you do on Sunday. It's what you do Monday through Saturday. Putting Him first in every part of your life is, like I said, it's the toughest choice you'll ever make, but it's going to be so worth it. I promise you it's so worth it. And like I said, from the time I was dunked in the water, when I was like, oh, there's a belief, whatever, I mean, I might have this. And when I was pulled up, it went completely from belief to trust. It went from just a checkbox or breaking the glass in case of emergency, God, I'll give you the credit when I can, but I'm going to do my own thing. It went from whatever your will, let it be done, and whatever you have in store for me, I will follow you as long as I can. And that's the person worth following, not the person you're following on Twitter, not any of that. Gets me all crazy just thinking about it. If I was still walking the same walk I was doing before, when I just was like, oh yeah, God's there, but I'm going to go walk this way, you know, and go the opposite way that He had in store. So I'm just telling you right now, if you make any decision, I'm not saying you have to do it now, or I'm not saying any of you are distant from Him, but just the toughest choice you'll ever make. And you might lose friends, and that's, you know, the nature of the beast. The toughest thing for me is knowing how confident I am now in my faith, in my relationships with my friends. They don't want to hear the truth. You know, I tell them taste and see it, they want to skip the meal. You know, and that's the way it is. But Jesus never said it would be easy. But it is so worth it. I guarantee it. If you just make that decision to follow Him, His plans are way better than any of your wildest dreams. I promise you that right now. And I could go on, but I'd rather take some questions, and I'll take some questions. You guys can ask some questions. We can maybe play hangman. No, I'm kidding. We're not going to play hangman. But so ask away. You know, pick my brain a little bit.
And as you're asking him questions, if you again have a prayer request, the board is open. So when we pray at the end, we'll take your request. But question.